It goes Stephen, then James, then Peter. Stephen dies. James dies by the sword. Peter lives because the church was praying and interceding for Peter. Now, to bring it to what is happening now, the last name Kirk means church. So, an attack on the church, the Acts church, those in the church who are willing to advance Jesus Christ in the nation, but it's more than that. It's the ecclesia, that part that is advancing as a ruling body, influencing the leadership of this nation and the government and the political. This is a biblical timeline we as the church have to pay close attention to, because the church interceded for Peter back in Acts, but not for James. This is the word of warning I'm about to give you. The biblical timeline is the time of the Acts Church 911 that we're looking at. Now, the first time I spoke this was August 28th, 2025, before this tragedy, because I was sensing it from the Lord back then, and that broadcast was called Acts 911. The death of Charlie Kirk triggered a prophetic biblical timeline that dark powers are attempting to fulfill and carry out once again through a Herod and through a Saul. Saul and Herod were working together. They were playing kind of for the same team before he became Paul. Now, if we take this timeline and superimpose it on what we see going on now, Charlie Kirk was Stephen. His death began a persecution of the church, which means the church is going to intensely grow in this time more than it will in any other time, probably in recent history. But after Stephen was James. And this is where I was praying after the Bullocks left. And I said, Lord, who is James? Who is Peter? Well, J.D. Vance's first name is James. His name actually is James David Vance, to be exact. Herod killed, think about this, Herod killed James and Saul chased David. His name literally is James David. He's attached to both Herod and Saul that were persecuting the church back in Acts. I want to play for you a clip to prove this of J.D. Vance. He said something in a speech that the Lord woke me up last night, and I just happened to find this. When he woke me up, I started to pray, and then this happened to pop up on my phone, and I saw this speech that he's given in the past few days. I want to play this clip for you of what James David Vance said.
I can't promise you this is going to be easy. I can't promise you that all of us will avoid Charlie's fate. I can't promise you that I will avoid Charlie's fate.
James David looks at the camera and says he cannot promise he will not suffer the same fate as Charlie Kirk. He looks in the camera and he says it. And him and Charlie worked together the way James and Stephen worked together. James, now we're going to get even deeper here, was the brother of John. They worked together. Donald Trump's middle name is John. President Trump's middle name is John. John survived multiple assassination attempts on his life, while James did not, because it depended on the church. This is the timeline that is unfolding before our very eyes. So you have James, the brother of John, and they work together. President Trump's middle name is John. J.D. Vance's first name is James. They work together. Then, on top of this, you have Peter. So first you've got James, you got Stephen, James, and then Peter. Peter was a believer. He was a disciple. He worked with Stephen and James directly and indirectly, and John. So Peter worked with Stephen. Peter worked with James. Peter worked as well with John. The head of the Department of Defense or the Department of War happens to be Peter Hegseth. Peter in the Gospels was scrappy. He was a fighter. And Peter Hegseth is the head of the newly named Department of War. Peter was prayed for, James was not, and it was the difference. And we as the church, recognizing the timeline, can intercede and change that so this cycle does not repeat itself. The enemy will go to great lengths in this season to cause this cycle to repeat itself in what is unfolding in our nation. So we need to fervently intercede for James David Vance and for Peter Hegseth. This is an urgent call to prayer. This is a word to the church. We must disrupt the timeline through the power and authority we have been given through Christ Jesus and truly intercede and recognize what is happening here because they all work together. See, that's the key. All of them were running in the same circle, working together. And if this prophetic timeline remains intact, it has a great potential to scatter believers, scatter the heirs, and send America into a spiral. It doesn't have to be that way. Where the church can realize and get ahead of the timeline, you can intercede and you can actually thwart through Christ Jesus these events from happening.